Hey everybody, welcome to Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And today we have a real treat for you. Laura Jenkins is from Juntos, and you might not have ever heard of Juntos, but Juntos in English, if you look it up, means together. And she is going to tell us all about this amazing ministry that is in Albuquerque in the International District, and she'll kind of tell you where the International District is. It might surprise you, some of the areas that are considered that. And we're just going to go through and find out a little bit about Juntos. If you're curious about how you can serve, how you can help, it's a wonderful organization for the children of Albuquerque. Laura, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Yeah, this is fun.
Good. I'm glad you agreed to it. And it's been a long time coming. I know we've got a lot of mutual friends, and this is our first time to meet in person. So it's really fun. So let's back up just with you a little bit.
Okay.
Are you native New Mexican?
Yeah, I grew up in Los Alamos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you go from growing up in Los Alamos to doing what you do today?
Yeah, it was a very circuitous route. When I went off to college, I went to school up at Trinity Western in Vancouver, British Columbia. It's a Christian school up there. And while I was there, I was exposed to two new ideas. One was environmental missions, and one was urban missions. And so I was only there for 2 years, started leaning towards the environmental missions, went to Texas A&M and got a degree in plant and environmental soil science. But in the process, thought I should check out this urban missions thing a little bit. So I went to San Jose, California with City Team, taught summer school to immigrant kids. Absolutely loved it, fell in love with them, was planning to go back when I ran into a couple with the navigators here in Albuquerque who were doing urban ministry with kids who were involved in gangs in the North Valley. So they asked me if I would come to Albuquerque. I said no, but I'll pray about it. So I prayed about it, and I came to Albuquerque for the summer of '99. And then again, just fell in love with these kids and said, I'll come back for 2 years. So that was almost 23 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Okay.
So that's how we got here. Yeah.
Okay. So 23 years you've been doing some sort of urban ministry.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about more about that.
Well, yeah, I guess when we started, it was kids in the North Valley, like I said, and I ended up working with middle school girls and middle school and high school girls who were kind of connected to some of these gang members that this couple had met. And so it was mentoring. So it was a lot of mentoring these girls. Pretty soon it turned into a Teen Moms program for a season. And then some of them moved or had connections in the International District. So at that time, it was still called the War Zone, is how most people knew it. And so we're thankful the name has changed. But so as those kids moved over there and I just stuck with them and their families, I got to know more families over there in the International District and other ministries that we ended up partnering with.
Okay, don't let me end this podcast without you telling me I don't want it right yet, but I want it in your head, one of your favorite success stories of a kid that you were able to really make a positive difference in their life. And I'm sure there's hundreds of them, but like the one that comes into your mind.
Okay.
So, but I still want to get a little bit more history.
Yeah.
So Juntos started when?
So Juntos started in the summer of 2005. I was, like I said, working in the International District with the navigators, but there were other people also working in the neighborhood. So there were 2 churches and 2 other nonprofits. And so we got together and we realized we were overlapping with some of the kids and we wanted to partner together more. So we said, let's just do a day camp, like a 1-week day camp. So we did it, not knowing what to expect. And we had 100 kids show up and they loved it. And when we were done, their family said, okay, so what's next? And we honestly had zero plan. So we decided, okay, we'll just start meeting once a week with the kids. And so at that point, we became Juntos.
Wow. Just like that, you just became Juntos.
Yeah, well, yeah, we talked about, how much can everybody contribute? Can we keep doing this? What's everybody's capacity? And so that fall, I believe it was that fall, we started meeting just weekly. And those same kids started coming, they would bring their friends. And the numbers, went up and down. Summer is always much more exciting than during the week. So, but yeah. And so we decided on the name Juntos because we were all working together.
Okay. Yeah. So you started out with, did you did you do all the nonprofit paperwork and all that?
No, and Juntos is still not a separate nonprofit. It falls under the Navigators now. Okay. So of those 5 organizations, 2 of them shut down, and actually 3 of them, and then the other decided to focus on something else. So I ended up directing the program, and so at that point, since I was Navigator staff, it came under the Navigators. So it's a Navigator ministry.
Well, that's nice that you have a parent company to...
Oh, it's really nice when it comes to stuff like insurance and vehicles and that kind of thing, and even the fundraising, that they can help us at headquarters with some of that stuff. So
okay,
yeah,
all right. Good. So you took over as running it when everybody else stopped running it or stopped, being together. Mm-hmm. And so, at what time? When did you take over?
Completely, probably in about 2007 or 2008, I think.
Okay, so you've been doing this for quite some time.
Yes. Yeah.
So since you started till now, what are some of the major changes that have happened?
Okay.
Since you took over, since it was your baby.
Yeah. Well, one thing is location. We borrowed a church that was down on Dallas and Zuni. And when they needed to shut their doors, we had to find somewhere else. So Eastgate Church was very generous and allowed us to be there for, I think, 4 years. And then about 5 years ago, we moved into our own space that's down on Trumbull near Wyoming. And so we rent a space down there. So that's a big one. We've added a lot of programs. So we started out with just a once-a-week program that we call it Rally Night, where the kids come, they have a Bible lesson, they have a small group leader who ideally is a high schooler who already went through the program, who mentors them, and they do activities. But we've added a learning lab, a bunch of high school different activities, Bible studies. We have a girls group and a middle school group, and an art a partnership with somebody who does fine arts with them. So we've added things, and they come and go depending on what parents want and what the kids want and what they desire. So, yeah.
Okay, so you have a learning lab. What does that mean? What do you do there?
So the kids come back. We have about 12 kids in it right now who are mostly elementary, early middle school. And they come and they can bring their homework and get some tutoring, but they also just read. They have a one-on-one mentor, I guess. We're trying to avoid some of the education terms that scare kids away. Like they don't like tutoring, they don't like tutor. So it's a learning lab. And also that way kids who don't struggle can still come and feel like they have a place. So anyway, they read together, they do a family meal together, they pray together, they do games. There's always a science experiment at the end. So yeah, it's really fun.
Oh, how really cool.
And that's one of the needs that parents have expressed to us. As you probably know, we're number 50 in education. And the cluster that most of our kids go to is the Highland cluster. And a lot of those schools are failing schools. And so, yeah, education we think is super important.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So you mentioned all these things. Can you just do like a one-liner about what each one of them is?
I can sure try. Okay, so Rally Night I already kind of told you about. If you're familiar with Awana, we kind of equate it to that, but it's much more chaotic and yeah. And then we add an activity at the end like art or science that the kids can choose from. They love to play basketball, those kinds of things. And then the Learning Lab we told you about. The Creators Community is the name of the art group, and a man named Charlie Elmore runs that, but he runs it out of Juntos for our crew of kids. And they work on sometimes drama, sometimes drawing, creative writing, those things. So that's for middle school and up. So we have some kiddos in that. Breakaway is the middle school group. And so, again, it's kind of like a youth group. Again, we're very high energy, let's say that. So a little bit chaotic, but we love that the kids can come and just feel like I'm at home. This is my space. And so they're very free, sometimes a little too free. But it's really cool. God's doing some really neat things in the middle school crew. And then high school, we have a couple of different Bible studies. And then over the year, we just get them all together every once in a while. The high schoolers are busy people. They're working, they're in school, they're in sports. So it's hard to get with them as a large group super frequently. But one of we have 3 words that really kind of are our foundation at Juntos, and it's leadership, generosity, and purpose. And so that leadership piece is really important to us. So we try to put the high schoolers in leadership roles in all of these different activities. And so that's a lot of where our high school work comes from. And then we have partnerships like with Arches and some other places where we can send high schoolers. And then actually we have all these programs, but our big emphasis is relationships with individuals. So during COVID was a good test of this. All the programs had to be canceled. Were we still Juntos, and did we still function? And the answer, thankfully, was yes. And so the majority of our time is actually spent mentoring or discipling people one-on-one or in small groups, hanging out with families. So we have these programs, but really it's the families and being together that we love.
Gosh, so that's amazing. Do you even hear all the stuff that you've accomplished in such a short?
Well, it's not just me. I have this amazing team, and we have had faithful volunteers. Because it does take, like Monday night, we probably have 20-ish volunteers every week. The breakaway, now we're to the point where most of the volunteers are high schoolers or people that grew up in the program are helping with that, which is our goal. This needs to be the community's program, and somebody from the community is going to communicate much better than I can. So my job is just to give them a platform where they can minister to their own community and family.
Oh my gosh, how exciting. Yeah. That must be incredibly exciting for you to see a kid that came up now. Come here, let me show you. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. We actually have one on staff with us now, Angel, who started he was 5 when he started coming to Juntos. And he wanted to come earlier, but we were like, try to say, you need to be at least 5 before he started coming. His older brother had been coming. And so he was with us that whole time. And there's been ups and downs and times we didn't see him. But after he graduated high school, we could just see some real leadership skills in him. And we said, why don't you do an internship? And then the internship went really well. And so he's with us now. He helps lead the breakaway program. He meets with a couple high school guys. And it's really fun.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So the program that's the most fun, you said, is the summer program.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let's get you going.
Okay.
Let's get you
It's 1 week, but we call it's Kids Club. And basically it's day camp. But there's 2 components to it. Our high schoolers all stay together. It's almost like a mini mission trip for them. So they all stay together. Like this year they were at a cabin in the mountains. And so they'd come in every day and they run the camp. And then they go home back to the cabin and they debrief and do activities and stuff. So that's one huge chunk of it. The other chunk is the kids who come. And so that's kindergarten through 8th grade. And so usually we still are running about 100 kids that do that. And so in the morning we do a lesson, much like VBS, and then we do the city lunches, and then the afternoon is field trips and activities and service projects, different things like that. So that's where we get most of the kiddos. It's a lot of work. They're always asking, can't we do this all summer? And I'm like, man, 1 week kills me. We cannot do this all summer. So we do summer camp. We have a partnership with that and some different things too. And we continue the learning lab and, of course, meeting with people.
My gosh.
So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm just blown away by all of this. And it's not like I haven't heard about it from a lot of people that I go to church with that are volunteers
your church is
of
very
yours.
Involved. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it's so much fun to get to sit here and hear and get to ask all these questions. So I'm ready for the story now.
Okay. Well, and I kind of hesitate to call them success stories. I like to talk more about how God is moving in somebody's life, because success, I've had to learn, there's a lot of 2 steps forward, 4 steps back, and pray for a miracle. That's what one of my friends says. And so success is very subjective, right? And so I like to talk about where I see God at work. And one of them is a young woman. Well, she's 27 now, but I've been meeting with her almost weekly since she was in high school. And I would sometimes honestly cry before I had to go meet with her. She was so hard, and she was going through such a hard time, and it was really difficult. And now, all these years later, so I don't know, what has it been, 13, 14 years later, she's this great human being. She loves the Lord. She's involved in her local church. She has her own apartment. She's got a job. She's working really hard. And all of this, she's had a bunch of trauma in those years, lost both of her parents, lots of different things. But I look at her and I think, man, if we had given up on her, which I was so tempted to do so many times, we wouldn't get to see her now and what she's, and she still struggles and has some health things going on right now. But we see her heart, a generosity and a desire to reach out to other people, which is our goal. We don't want to just invest in this generation. We have to teach them how to invest in other people, or else it stops with us. And so we want to help all the kids see they have a vision beyond Juntos. And I think she has that. That's really fun.
Cool. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Way to go. Way to go. I mean, I understand who did the work.
Right.
But I also understand that you had a choice and you almost chose to give up.
Yeah.
And so what do you say to someone who is that close with that not that close, not because you didn't know how close you were to her?
Right. Yeah. You don't know. Well, and I think that's the definition of a success that I see in the book of Joshua in chapter 1. It's being obedient. So I figure that's success. And so that's just what I tell people, like, is God asking you to do this? Then you have to do it. And you have to be faithful. And we know in these kinds of communities that we're working in, it's slow and longevity is really important. Like, you can never give up on somebody. Sometimes they'll walk away, but it's so interesting how many will come back. And if we weren't here, we wouldn't get to see that.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So how are you still here financially? Do you take any government money?
We do not, no. Because we're a faith-based organization, we're limited on that. We do have, like, for instance, we have some partnerships with the city where we can do the summer lunches, or right after this, I'm meeting with somebody from the city where I think we're going to be talking, I think she's going to want to talk about urban gardening. And so there's some things like that. But no, it's all individuals and churches.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the faithfulness of God. I have a friend who used to say, every gift is a miracle. And I would agree. And it's been that way for 20-some years. Yeah.
So were there times that you were almost at the end of your financial rope?
Oh, yeah. There's been times where we've been in the red. Again, an advantage of having a big organization, because then they can help us until we can get our footing back. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. It's amazing how quickly something can turn around when you are just at the very end.
Yeah. Oh, it really is. I have a cool story. We were praying for a van to transport kids, because we often pick up the kids and drive them to programs and bring them home. And so we were praying for a 12-passenger van. And I jokingly told my team, okay, pray that we get one in the next 10 days. No, I think it was even less. I think it was like 2 days, because we need it for this program. And 24 hours later, I got a call that somebody had raised all the money for us to buy the van. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was exciting. And we still have it. It's torn up, but it is trucking.
It's still going.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so what is a big need that you have right now?
It is, the biggest one is always financial, just paying the rent every month. And then also we're trying to bring on high school interns, kids that have grown up in the program, just so for a short period of time. And so we're raising money to try and hire more of them and to maintain for staff. One thing that's hard is when you're navigator staff, we all raise our own support. But if you're coming from a community that has fewer financial resources and fewer people with resources, and sometimes culturally it's not appropriate to do that, then it's a lot harder to raise support. So we want to be able to help we call them local heroes. We want to be able to help local heroes be in staff positions, even if it's just temporary. And so that's another need.
Well, and it will benefit them hugely going into any other position.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think Angel's probably the only one that will stay. We've had 2 others so far, and they're both, one is now a police service aide, and the other is back in college and working at UNM Hospital.
Nice. Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your favorite thing about what you do?
Definitely the relationships and the people. I'll get teary talking about it, but that I've been invited into families that's just really special.
Yeah, they trust you.
And I trust them. It's a two-way street, and we know that God was already at work before I got there. He just let me join him for the journey.
Wow, yeah. That is very cool. So how many of these families are you still intimately, is it long term? Does it?
So that first summer I was here in 1999, I met one large family. All of those girls' kids are now in our program.
Wow.
So yeah, they're lifers.
Wow.
They're lifers. Yeah.
That is amazing. Wow. Okay. So moving forward from here, this year, 2023, what are some of the goals that you have for the program?
So one of our biggest goals is actually for our team and our volunteers, and that's just that they have a deep, intimate relationship with the Lord, that we're not using them up and burning them out, but they're learning like healthy rhythms, they're getting time alone with the Lord, we're praying together, just taking care of those people and really investing in them. And then I'm trying to remember, we just had our meeting, we had 3 things. And one of them, of course, is always making sure our programs are really excellent and making sure that we're being super intentional about creating leadership opportunities for kids at every single age to jump in. So whether that's, I have these crazy middle school boys that like to act out the Bible story or whatever it is to get them up front, get them confidence. So the programming, and then just being really intentional about the internships and trying to find the right kids to be in those roles.
How do the kids find you?
Always word of mouth. I think we tried once to go hand out flyers. You don't get anything from that because people don't know who you are, if they can trust you, any of those things. So out of that original crew of kids, it's all been invite, family. Every once in a while, like my neighbors, I know my neighbors and they've all been invited and a lot of them have come. All of our staff live in the neighborhood. That's a high value for us. And our kids my kids go to Highland, and so they go with the other kids from Juntos. And so we just, as we meet people, we see them and invite them. So it's always just based on a relationship.
My goodness, that is so awesome.
It's really fun. Yeah.
So I'm putting words in your mouth. What impact do you feel like you're having in the international district?
I think we feel a need. There's a lot of really great programs in the international district, faith-based, government, whatever. There's some really great programs. And we try not to duplicate what anybody else is doing. So we feel like our specific lane is really the spiritual discipleship and helping kids see that they can impact their community, their family, other people long-term. And so we address education. We partner with people who are doing housing. We partner with people who are doing food. We partner with people who are doing clothes. So we can refer families to all those things because that's super important, right? That's one aspect of whole life discipleship. And we've tried to get to know some of the teachers and people in the schools. But our lane is really that spiritual discipleship and helping kids see how they can have an impact for the kingdom of God.
Do you often get kids that don't believe?
Oh, yeah. All the time, and that's fine, and they can come. And it's really interesting, we get church kids, and they come and they say, this is a safe place for me to ask questions, right? So they can express doubts, and they can say whatever they want. And we've had them say that, I can't ask this at church, but I can ask you guys. So we have the whole gamut. Yeah, we have everything. And our goal is just that they get one little step closer to the Lord. And some will, and some won't. I'm not the Holy Spirit, none of us are. But we can hopefully set the environment where they can be open and where they can hopefully experience just the genuine love of God through other people.
What is one of your favorite stories about one of your volunteers and how they've been impacted? I
think about one volunteer, and this is years ago. He's still on our support team. He now has a PhD in something important and lives in California. but he's struggled with high school just kind of with his identity. And didn't fit into the youth group, didn't fit into church, didn't fit into these different things. But he would come very faithfully every week to Juntos, and he said, "This is my home, this is my family." And we've had several people say that, like the girl I was telling you about earlier, my success story. She recently sent me a text and said, "Juntos is the only place I was never judged, and I felt at home." And so I think that's true for some of the volunteers as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think people is having more volunteers important to you? Is that a need that you have?
It is, yeah, in certain areas. There are certain areas we reserve where we want it to be somebody from the community, and we will always give preference to a kid that grew up in Juntos or somebody from their family. But yeah, we don't have expertise in all this kind of stuff. And we know that other people really love the community and want to be involved. So I think about our learning lab. There's several people who work at the labs who come. And I think we have a couple teachers and then several who are retired as well. But they, they can do 7th grade math and I can't. So we need them.
We need
need them. Right.
So what are some of your needs, like for volunteers that would be really helpful if you had someone who blank?
Yeah, I think learning lab is always a need. And then even just stuff like helping out around the building, making sure things are, the landscape, the yard, the building, like is everything functioning, stuff like that. But especially, I think Learning Lab is our number one. And then our Monday night program, we often need extra people to, like when we do events, but also like to help the kids with activities. So if somebody has something they love to do, if they love to paint, if they love to sew, if they love to work on cars, anything like that, then those are fun activities to expose the kids to. And and that's low commitment because they can come, whenever they want. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a little something for everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what is one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever been given?
I think it's to wait and see where God is always at work and listen before you plan and move forward. Yeah, wait and watch.
Okay. Yeah. Laura, thank you so much for what you do.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like the community to know, any needs that you have that Juntos has?
I think we've covered most of it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for what you do, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.